Hello, and welcome to Not Just Books, the Williamson County Public Library's monthly show about what is happening in your community and at the library. I'm Dolores Greenwald, and I'm the Executive Director. Thank you for taking so much time today and joining us. And we have with us our Janice Keck Literary Award winners, Katie Shands, James Turner, and Holly Achurch. We also have with us the Executive Director of CASA, Marianne Schroer, and one of our children's librarians, Stacy Parish. So sit back and relax and enjoy our show. Welcome back, and I am so pleased to have with me today Marianne Schroer. She is the Executive Director of Williamson County CASA, and Rocklin, who also works with Marianne. We're going to talk about Rocklin in a minute. Hello, Marianne. How are you?
Hello, Dolores. Thank you for having me today.
Well, we are always glad to see you. Tell us about CASA and the good work that it does.
CASA stands for Court Appointed Special Advocate, and at CASA we're a nonprofit, and we recruit volunteers, and then we train those volunteers to advocate for children in the juvenile court system. Most of our cases involves child abuse or neglect, and we're appointed by a judge to be involved in cases where there's been abuse and neglect, and a lot of our kids are involved also. Most of them are with the Department for Children's Services, so they're either in a foster home or relative placement or somewhere outside their home.
And you said you're a nonprofit, so where does your funding come from?
Well, as a nonprofit, we have no real revenue source. Some nonprofits do, we do not. And most of our revenue comes from fundraisers or grants and then individual gifts are a big part of CASA. So we really rely on our community for the most part through fundraisers and individual gifts to support CASA. But we are a United Way agency, and we get very little government funding, but we do get one grant from the Tennessee Commission on Children and Youth.
Well, tell us about some of your fundraising efforts.
We just finished our second biggest fundraiser, which was our Playhouse event. So the Franklin firefighters build a playhouse for CASA that we then raffle off at Pumpkin Fest.
Oh.
Twice Daily has been one of our sponsors for the last several years, and this year Little Sprouts, which is a kids consignment sale, gave a part of their proceeds to that event. So we just had that event in the spring, and we're already working on this event. It's going to be our biggest Voices for Children. And we had it last year at Barry Alexander's classic car, where he houses his classic cars. And then before that, we had it at the theater. So we're looking for space this year. We're kind of in the process of figuring out what we're going to do this year. And then we're sending out our Christmas card, which is our end of the year card, just telling people what we've done over the past year and asking for support. So it'll be our end of the year ask.
Well, tell us a little bit about Rocklin.
Well, Rocklin is my buddy. Rocklin is a service dog, designated as a facility dog, came from an organization called Canine Companions for Independence. And Rocklin lives with me, goes to work with me every day, and Rocklin works with kids in the juvenile court system. You know, it can be really scary as a child when you've been through a scary experience anyway, and then have to come to court, have to talk to the judge and talk to the attorneys. So Rocklin's able to be there with them through that whole experience and make them feel a whole lot better. So he's been awesome.
That's terrific. He is such an important part of the team.
He's a very important part of the team. He especially loves you too, Dolores. So we've worked with you quite a lot. He's a real important part of the team, and not long ago we had some kids who were being told that they weren't going to go home with their mother, and Rocklin was able, and you can imagine what that would have felt like for them. It's very upsetting, and so Rocklin was able to be with them through that whole process and up until the time when they went into a foster home. And we also have little Rocklin stuffed dogs with the little vest on that we can send home with kids so that they can take a little piece of Rocklin with them.
Great. That's great. Well, how can people find out more information about CASA and volunteer?
Well, we're always looking for volunteers. Last fiscal year, we served 500 children. Expect to serve even more this year, and we have 85 advocates. So we're always looking for advocates who can support these kids through that whole process and kind of be with them through the whole process. But also just financial support is so important when you're a nonprofit.
Yes.
And we're so fortunate in Williamson County to have a CASA. Not every county does. But CASAs do such great work for children. I was on a panel the other night, and there were two foster parents sitting there with me, and they said to the group, "I don't know what I would have done without my CASA."
Yeah.
So www.williamsoncountykasa.org is our website. We're located on East Main Street, so you can reach out to us through our website. Or give us a call at 591-2699 and let us know if you're interested in being an advocate or if you're interested in helping out in other ways.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you, Rocklin.
Rocklin says, "You're welcome."
We'll be right back. Welcome back. We are very privileged to have with us Stacy Parish, who's really kind of one of our regulars these days. She's been on here quite a bit, helping me out and talk about what's going on in the children's department at Williamson County Public Library. Thank you, Stacy, for joining us.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure as always.
We have started a new sensory program. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's something new to us. We were enabled to do because of a grant that our wonderful foundation got for us. We have had 2 of the series of 3, and they are led by a gentleman named Dave Spack, who is a Vanderbilt-trained professional and also a musician, and he kind of incorporates sensory awareness learning and drumming within his programs. So they're open to children of any sort, of course, but specifically geared to welcoming children who have maybe struggle with autism, Asperger's, other sensory type issues like that.
And it's been very successful, I understand.
It's been wildly successful. We have oversold and developed a waiting list, so we hope to be able to continue to do that at some
And I
point.
think he's got one more program.
We
he's
have
doing?
one more in the series.
And then we're going to kind of branch off and do it ourselves, I think.
I think so. I think that he has been working with Liz, our wonderful children's librarian, who has spearheaded that, and so that she can incorporate it into her regular story times.
Well, this is great.
Yeah,
It really
absolutely.
is. And we have also special themed programs from time to time.
We do. We have our Legos Day, the first Saturday of every month, which is always a great time. And it's just freestyle. We provide all of the bricks for the kids, and they come in and just do their own thing. There aren't any instructions or rules that you have to follow other than, be nice and share and, don't throw the bricks at your friends and that kind of good stuff. We also have our youth chess program is still ongoing. We're kind of youth chess 2.0. We have a new mentor coming in. We lost our last mentor. He was relocated to Michigan for work, so that would have been, kind of a long commute for him to come back once a month.
Yeah.
But it's great guns as always, and really, really great with the kids. I know enough just to be dangerous. I can set up the board and I know how the pieces move, but
that's
beyond
about
that,
where I'm at,
that's where
too.
my expertise ends. So that we are very, very glad to have our new mentor coming on board.
And then you had special Harry Potter program.
We did our second annual Harry Potter Day, which was always a blast. That the kids just it's just delightful to see everybody get so engaged and with their costumes and getting totally in character, and the conflict, well, not conflict, but the, shall we say, differences between Slytherin versus Hufflepuff.
Oh, yeah.
perhaps. And
Yeah, that's true.
it's
But
always
it's
a
always
really,
a
really
lot
great
of fun.
time. Oh yeah,
It's a lot of fun.
We always have a great time.
And we also have story times.
We do.
And we also have our summer reading program.
We will begin planning for the programming for that very soon, once we get past Christmas. So we always have great events with Bob Tarter, our animal guy, and Mr. Rich, the super science guy, and it's always, you never know what's going to happen with him.
Well, to make sure that you know everything that's going on, you can sign up for our newsletter,
Yes.
send an email to
To
ref
at
Williamson.
Williamson-tn.org.
That's right.
That's right.
And also visit our website, wcpltn.org.
Right.
And thank
Or
you.
come in and see us in person.
Yes, come by in person. Look at our bricks and mortar.
That's right.
Thank you, and we'll be right back. Welcome back. And we're going to be talking to some of our Janice Keck Literary Award winners over the next few minutes. And our first guest is Katie Shands. She's our fiction winner, and her title is Finding Franklin. Thank you so much for joining us
you for having
today.
me.
Tell us about your book.
Well, it is a mystery with some romance in it, and it's about a woman who has a lot of questions about her past. So she moves to Franklin and is just trying to solve the mystery of where she came from, who her mother is. It has a lot of Southern flair. It has a lot of nods to Franklin, so locals, or really anybody who's been to Franklin, will enjoy hearing some of the local restaurants, different shops and such. And it is a story of faith and just kind of exploring what home and family can be. There's many different definitions for those. And
Now, how long have you been in Franklin?
a little over 2 years, but just fallen in love with it, and just every time I drive down Main Street, I just
It's great.
fall
I
in love
love
all
it.
over again.
So is that where you got your inspiration for the book?
Yes, I don't know. There's just something about historic towns and old homes that just inspire me. There's just so many stories there, and I think about all the people who have walked the streets there or lived in these different homes, and so the story is set actually in a Victorian on West Main. It's based on an actual one on there, so we'll see if the readers can guess. I've taken a little artistic liberties here and there, but I had a certain one in mind as I wrote the story.
Oh,
but
okay. So viewers are going to have to read and
Yes.
see. But have you read much about the Battle of Franklin? Speaking of Franklin's history.
Yes, we moved here from Knoxville, and I was not very good about being a tourist in my own town. So when we moved here, I was very intentional about going around to the different spots and really learning about where I lived. And my neighborhood actually backs up to Carnton. So that was the first place we went to. And then we have done the Lotes House. Carter House is still on my list of places. But yes, I have read a couple books about it. I read one that was put out by the Heritage Foundation as well, and just have really enjoyed being immersed in history. I mean, it's kind of like it's just all around us here. So.
Well, thank you for participating in the Janice Keck Awards, and thank you for coming today. And we're going to have a reception for our authors we're talking to today on December 12th. So make sure you are attending and save that date, and we're going to have a really nice event celebrating the writers here in Williamson County. Thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me.
We'll be right back. Welcome back. Right now we have with us Holly Achurch. She is our Janice Keck Literary Award winner for picture books, for children's picture books. And her beautiful book is called A Tennessee Breeze. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us about your book.
A Tennessee Breeze is a children's picture book that it's a gently rhyming story that sort of takes us into the fall of night. The sun is going down, there's a nice breeze, and we follow some tiny gnats into a forest, and we hear a beautiful chorus emerge. There's a whippoorwill and a mockingbird, and it's more of a bedtime story.
Well, it's a beautiful book. Tell us about the illustrations.
So the illustrations were done in chalk pastel. They were done by an illustrator, Leanne Schneider, out of Atlanta, Georgia, and she's actually my sister. This is a project that we worked on together.
Well, I was going to ask you how you met her, so
Right.
that's really
Yes.
that's really cool.
She's a professional illustrator, and this was actually our. We had for a long time wanted to work on a project together, and when I came across the Janice Keck, the contest, I thought this might be a really good platform for us to do our first project together. So. But
So
everything.
How was it working with your sister?
It was great. We get along. We're very close. We get along. So it was actually quite easy because I could be totally honest with her. and
Yeah,
she
that's
could be honest
kind
with
of
me,
the way I am with my sister too. But so, what made you apply for this award?
A couple of things. Originally, as a writer, I had sort of wanted to be a little bit more serious about it, and one of my goals was to enter more contests. And I had only been in Franklin for maybe a year and a half, and went to the library website because the library is a great resource, and I happened to see the Janice Keck Award, and I thought, it's local, so I want to support local, and I like that. It's my first contest. And read a little bit about Janice Keck and how important she was, and thought that this might be a good fit. So,
Well, it really was. It's a beautiful book.
thank you.
Is this going to prompt you to write more children's books, you think?
Yes. My sister and I are actually, we have 2 or 3 more books that we're working on actually right now.
Oh, cool.
Lined up. It may take us a while to get all of them completed, but yeah, there's definitely a chance of that. So.
Well, you'll have to come back and let us see. It was a great collaboration. It was just.
Thank you.
It was beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Beautiful book. We had Ingram, some people with Ingram Content Group, judge the awards because, and I don't know if you guys know this or not, all the authors, but we just kind of wanted to step back. And they were so excited about your book and all the other winners. It was
Wonderful.
terrific.
That's a great compliment.
It was
Yeah.
terrific. So join us, viewers, on December 12th, and you will meet our terrific writers and winners of the Janice Keck Awards. And thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
We'll be right back. Hello, welcome back. We have our Janice Keck Award winner for nonfiction, James Turner, with us today. And he's going to tell us a little bit about his book, Battlefield Guide to Life. Thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me.
We certainly have like a Franklin, Tennessee theme going on with these books, and I just love that. Tell us about your book.
Well, my book is a series of stories with lessons that might be learned from historic battles from the past. So as an example, what you might learn from Caesar, what you might learn from Richard III. As an example, with Richard III, he showed himself to be a little bit impetuous, so he made some poor decisions, and what you can learn from that in life. Up to World War I, Sergeant York, as an example, how you can be extraordinary, how any person has that ability, and I just think it's inside there with you. So basically, my book is a series of these stories of lessons that can be learned from the history.
And give us an idea of some of the lessons that you discuss in your book.
Well, I think one of the neatest ones for me was in 52 BC, Caesar is trying to defeat the Gauls. He has absolutely no chance in this. These are the days when the Romans thought about the three fates, that everything was fate, but Caesar thought about luck more, and he felt that he was lucky and that he had the opportunity to do things. And I see with people, so much of the time we say, well, everything's against me, there's really nothing I can do. But I want people to step up and say, there is something I can do. If I take action, if I create opportunity for myself, then things can turn out maybe not even as I would envision. So it's a lesson like that that I want people to learn, that there are things that you can do for yourselves. And these stories are really just analogies that we pick up from the battlefields.
Have you always been interested in history, or is it something that you've picked up recently, or?
Always.
Always.
Always. So as a child, I read these stories, and as I got older, my grandmother would take me to some of these battlefields, and we would stand there, and she would say, what did you learn from this? When these men did this, when this general made this decision, what did you learn from this? And so that's when I started seeing things in that direction. So as I got older, I had the opportunity to start going to some of the battlefields, and that really made a difference to stand there and kind of see what they saw that day.
They're really sacred places.
They are.
It's amazing living here with such a tremendous battle that happened. It's, you know, I think about the soldiers' accounts of not being able to see the ground because of the dead soldiers and what have you. It's tremendous impact history can have on an individual.
It is. I live on a part of the battlefield where my grandfather, great-great-grandfather, William Turner, came through pretty close to there with the 28th Tennessee as they came toward the Carter House. And he came through unscathed, and it's amazing with all of the tragedy that happened here that day. Just as you say, it's hard to imagine that, but I think a lot of us do the best we can.
Well, what prompted you to apply for this literary award?
One of the main things that I had was a lot of encouragement from friends and family who said, "Get it done." I have a high school English teacher, Miss Sue Mahaney, who has encouraged me for years to do something like that. And so I finally got to step up and say, "Miss Mahaney, I'm doing this." And so the April 29th deadline was the coolest thing that's ever happened to me because I had to get it done, and done is better than perfect.
Well, sometimes those deadlines will really help.
I need deadlines.
Yeah.
So it was a great thing for me, and I really appreciate the opportunity.
Well, there was one, I have to tell you this because of the history connection.
Okay.
But we helped a writer with a book on Brigadier General Adams during the sesquicentennial of the Battle of Franklin.
Okay.
He did a biography, and it was like a hobby. And to him, he'd been doing it for over 20 years. We helped him publish his book through Ingram Sparks, and then he's been picked up by a publishing house.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And got a text from him yesterday saying he was going to do a book signing here at Barnes & Noble in November this month. So it's very exciting.
Well, General Adams is one of my favorite stories in that battle.
It's one of his, too.
So I'm absolutely interested in seeing that. So I'm looking forward to reading that book.
Well, it's we have a history at the library of working with local authors in various ways, and we've just come across the Janice Keck Award as a way to help local authors and, take another step forward.
It certainly has. Thank you.
It's very exciting, and look forward to seeing you in December 12th at the
You will.
event. And we'll be right back.
When I lost my sight, the only thing I had was reading.
When you discover you have an impairment, it can change your life. So take a little time to find the resources that are going to help you restore what you've lost.
Whatever your needs are, 99.9% of them can be met by the NLS program.
There's all kinds of formats that you can choose from. You can choose from large print or braille or audio.
Just can't recommend it enough. It's a free service. It's amazing how much you can get.
It has expanded my horizon.
And everybody can read the way they want to read using this program.
For more information about the National Library Service for the Blind and Physically Handicapped, Library of Congress, visit loc.gov/thatallmayread or call 1-888-NLS-READ.
Thank you for joining us today in learning about your community and the Williamson County Public Library. Special thank you to Katie Shands, James Turner, and Holly Achurch, our Janice Keck Literary Award winners. And thank you to Marianne Schroer, our Executive Director of Williamson County CASA, and Stacy Parish, our Children's Librarian. You can find out more about the library by logging on to wcpltn.org, and you can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter at wcpltn.org. Let us know what you think about your library and how we are doing. And until next time, explore your world and read.
I Met a Frog by Vera Jar. I walked out into the garden and I met a frog. His eyes were shut, his mouth was in a wide smile, but ready to flip his tongue so sly at the innocent fly by. You would think he's princely, yogi, meditating, serene, soaked in the moment, taking in soul and mind to a better place. A wild world out there, emboldened, walking out into the garden, and if you meet a frog and mistook him for a hermit, beware. It wouldn't be Prince cloaked, bewitched don't you be, croaked.
All of us want to make a difference. As veterans, we committed to protect our country. We served and sacrificed for the things that mattered most. Those experiences shaped our lives, even if it isn't always obvious to those around us. And now that we've served, our commitments have taken on a new meaning. We're husbands, wives, parents, friends, and neighbors, but sometimes we still feel alone. We forget that our biggest challenge can be to ask for support when we need it. The Veterans Crisis Line is here for all veterans, service members, and their loved ones. Dial 1-800-273-8255 and press 1. Chat online at veteranscrisisline.net or text 838-255. It matters.